Hey y'all, it's Anna at Mimsy's Garden. You can call me Mims, just like my friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. We're going from garden to table, or actually, garden to canning jars today. I'm washing up the collard greens. So I've got 7 bundles, 7 plants, and I've got some cool water running. I've put a little bit of distilled vinegar in there, just white vinegar's fine, and some salt. I'm gonna fill my sink up as full as I can get it, and then soak this collards, not cabbage, soak these collards for just a little while, just to make sure there's no boogies, and then I'll rinse each leaf really good, and I'm gonna get the stems out of there, chop them up, and then we're gonna can them. Okay, so the next step is I've got 1 bundle out. I've got 7 bundles, and I'm just going to inspect them real good, make sure I've got them good and clean, and then I'm gonna take the thick, bulky part of the stems out. I don't like the stems like that in there, so even part of the leaves, I need to get some of that stem out, and then I'll chop them up. So I'll just let you see how I do that. I just take that piece like that, and I'm looking it over good, and it is time consuming, and I'm going to cut out the bulk of that stem so that I have a big piece of leaf like that, and I'm just gonna chop them into smaller pieces. Bite-sized pieces is usually what I do, and then once I get done, I'll rinse them again. Okay, so I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. This is by all means not all that I have left to chop, but I wanted to show you that I did get the big bulks of the stems out, and I just chop them. Okay, now, a lot of people blanch theirs for a couple minutes before they fill their jars, and they add the hot liquids. So, I'm going to be honest, I don't do that. I do everything cold. And that is my choice. You need to do what you feel best is comfortable for you and your family. What I like to do is do everything from cold, bring it all up to temp together. I take my little mason jars, make sure they're good and clean. They've cooled down some. I've added a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt to my pint jars and 2 teaspoons to the quart jars, and then I begin to fill them, and I cover it with filtered water to 1-inch headspace. I have done it the other way where I blanched it, and it didn't make any difference. I've done it both ways, so to me it's easier just to cool pack it and bring it all up to temperature together. Just my choice. So you want to fill your greens in, and you want to pack them as tight as you can. Get my little gadget. Okay. So you can use the funnel if you want to. It's all in what you want. So, and I just pack them real good. Takes a lot of greens to do a little jar. I think I only had chopped up 3 bundles to start with. Anyway, I may have about 4 left, or vice versa, 3 or 4. So, and that's what your jar looks like before you add your water. And you'll see when you add your water, it's going down, and you can add some more. Okay, so you can just pack, and it's loose at the top, so I'm gonna add a little bit more just to make sure. I like to get them tight. Now then, that's what it's gonna look like. You might have a floater or 2, but that's okay. And then you're gonna wipe your rims and lids, which we'll do in just a minute, with a little vinegar water and a paper towel. then you'll put your lids and rings. I do like those to be a little warm, but not hot. The newer lids, you don't have to boil them. But something I wanted to mention too is to be sure you're getting your air bubbles out. And another thing, a lot of people, the reason that they do it hot is because they want that broth. Now, for me, I just want clear water, because when I'm going to heat it up, if I want to add chicken broth or ham broth or beef broth, whatever I choose that day, depending on who's here or who's eating with me, because some people don't like the ham broth. Some people like the beef broth. Some would rather have a chicken broth. So I tend to do that part separate once I'm heating it up. So salt water is the reason that I do mine the way I do, and it's the reason also that I don't heat the broth up, because you have to pour that off anyway. So, and then you gotta have fresh water again. So it's just double. And I have already washed these twice. So I'm, in my thinking, it's just how I do it. It's Mimsy's crazy ways. Like I said, do your own research, do it how you want to do it, okay? Now that we've cleared that up, I've got to get back to packing these jars. I've got all my greens in the jar. I'm going to get a piece of paper towel and my white vinegar, and we're going to wipe the rims really good. So we don't even waste salt or leaves or anything like that could hinder our seal. So just a little vinegar on paper towel, or some people just do water. I like vinegar. Just makes me feel like I'm getting cleaner. So we're gonna wipe that off really well. And we're gonna start. I've got my lids in warm water just because I like to do that. You do not have to do that if you're doing this cold method. But you're gonna put your lids and your rings on, finger tight. Don't crank on it. Just, get it finger tight. And then we're gonna put these babies in the canner. I ended up with 4 quarts and 3 pints out of 7 collared plants. So, and I actually decided that these will be for my oldest daughter and her family to put up. She likes collards really well, and so I'm gonna gift her these as long as she gives me my jars back. That's the joke. She's like, I'll buy you some jars. I'm like, child, wash the jars and return the jars. That's all you gotta do. So that was our joke between us. Okay, so all that is done. And we're going to set these in the canner. The canner is at room temperature, and I'm gonna bring it all up to temperature together. So I've got it in my canner. In my water, I've got it to the fill line that's for my altitude. I'm gonna turn that on, and I'm gonna put the lid on and get that situated. I've got my 7 jars. Once you get your lid on and it starts coming up to pressure and your valve lifts, then you let that go for a 10 full minute pressure release of steam. And then you'll add your jiggler. Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, 400 delicious and creative recipes for today. And I've got tabs because I mark everything that I do frequently just to remind myself of times. So leafy greens, their recommendation is to hot pack. Good for them. Okay. Mimsy's Rebel Cannon. Anyway, but once you get down to the process times, you need to check for your altitude and then go with the times. For me, my altitude pressure is 10 pounds, and processing time is, for quarts, 90 minutes. And that's because I have a mixture of pints and quarts. I have to go with the time of the quarts because they're the largest. If it was just all pints, it would be 70 minutes. So just to let you know that if you don't have one of these, I suggest you get one some which way. For right now, you can look things up on the internet under Vol Cannon or the USDA or the Food and Drug Administration and find your canning times. We may not always have that internet, y'all. Get you a hard copy. Hard copy books are the best thing to keep around because you just never know. You may be like Mimsy and have lousy internet service. So you want to be able to get to this when you can. Our time's up. We're just going to wait for it to depressurize. I'm going to move it from that eye to a cooler eye. Okay, this well-loved canner, as you can see, it's very well used, has depressurized, and I'm going to take the jiggler off. And what I do next is just kind of open the lid a little bit and let it blow off even more steam. So I'm going to let it evaporate a little bit more steam this way for a couple minutes, and then we'll take the jars out. So now our greens are processed and ready to come out of the canner. Okay, they're out of the canner now, and I've got them setting out to cool. They'll sit for 24 hours. You'll notice that you have some rising with a little liquid right here. It's all going to settle down as it cools anyway. And then your finished product will be a jar full of greens. This is some mustard greens I did earlier in the year. And so remember what I told you about adding broth when you got ready to heat them up. You'll probably want to do that if you like to have what us Southerners call pot liquor. And you can use ham broth, vegetable broth, beef broth, or chicken. So again, thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button.